Hello, my name's Jorb. I love gear, and this is the Roland P-6. The latest in the IRA Compact series, this is a sampler in the style of Roland's OG samplers. If the S1 was the SH-101, this is an SP-303. If you were wondering where the name comes from, I'm literally not sure. Maybe the SP-606? But it does all the things you wish a tiny sampler could do. There's a built-in mic, direct sampling in, resampling, there's a built-in sequencer, built-in delay and reverb, a whole SP-style punch-in effects section, and good implementations of all of these. Full, complete, configurable implementations of all that stuff. Plus all the stuff that makes all of the IRA compacts good, tiny, affordable, USB-C rechargeable. I think Roland did an excellent job. If you're comfortable with like a little bit of manual reading, a medium amount of manual reading, and you can get over the screen fit for a microwave, I think you'll agree that they nailed it. But that's it. We got a lot to talk about. If you're subscribed, thanks for coming back. If you're a patron, thanks for coming back. That means the world to me. I've got affiliate links and a bunch of other good stuff in the description if you want to support me in some other way. Thanks to Roland for sponsoring this video. Let's make some noise. Here we are, very close up on the table with the P6. These are sounds from the Counts, I think Memory Bank 4. I'm obsessed with these drum sounds. I use them constantly. I put these on here myself. I'm going to try and show you all this stuff in like a logical order, okay? It's not that easy. But our sounds here are on these 6 pads. You have 6 sounds available to press at a time, and they're organized into 8 banks. So we have A, B, C. Awesome. These are all factory things. That was D. And then they get to the second row, you double tap any of them. So A becomes E, and then we have F, G, and H. Right? And those 8 banks of 6 slots are the only slots you have available. That's separate from like a memory limit, but you can only have 8 banks of 6 sounds. Okay, that's great, but what about patterns? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 banks of 16 each. So let's say I want pattern 1, 1, hold pattern, press 1, let go, press 1. That's pattern 1, 1. And I just gotta say, a lot of the presets sound really good. Dustin, I don't know if you did them or anybody else, but I like a lot of the presets. So I still have pattern active. So right now, this bottom row of keys changes between bank 1 and pattern whatever. Sweet. But if I go to 2 and then 2, I think it's my first blank one. Yep. Okay, so you have samples contained in banks, and you use those to populate a pattern. So if I want to record something in, I can just tap it in. There's my kicks. Or what if I want to play live? Just press record and play. Now, if I want to see what's on an individual step, I can see there on the kick. Okay, we got them on where we put them. No snares yet. That hi-hat, that open hi-hat. That metronome is a setting I had just turned on for myself. But that's like as simple as it is like to add parts to a pattern. And that can be between banks. So while this is playing with stuff that I populated from G, I can go to H and put in whatever it is I want. Okay, but we're only at 16 steps right now. Let's say I want to go longer. This is a hotkey I remember, but I don't know why. It is what it is. So I hit record, hold keyboard, press menu. We get to copy, paste, or duplicate. That'll double everything we have. And I'll just like pause for a second here. That was just in the manual. So a lot of the way I've been learning this is getting to a point where I'm not sure where to go, and then in the manual, Control F, pattern length, Control F, duplicate, whatever it is, and then finding out from there. I think in regards to the screen, when I talked about the S1, which is also really, really good, the Roland S1, the only time where I was like, I think this interface is bad is when you're doing like the really specific sort of like graphic waveform stuff, like building stepped pulse waves and stuff. I think you run into that a little bit earlier on the P6. It happens a lot that I'm trying to dig deeper. I've gotten better at it, and things are like becoming clear to me, but this is like a fundamental thing you'd want to do, right? Take a full group of 16, make it longer. And this is one way to do it, the quickest way to do it. So I'll just show you that again. So if I have record, hold keyboard, octave up, duplicate. We also have copy and paste. And then whenever you see these two flashing down here, it's exit and enter. So enter on duplicate, done. Now exit, turn off record. So now if I hit shift and page, I go through page 1 and page 2. And right now they're identical. Okay, but I want to, let's go to page 2. I want to change all of these tom hits. That one I'll change to another tom. Okay, there's a bit of a pattern there. Let's say I want to mute a specific pad. Just hold shift and press it. There's 4 at once. Let's bring back one of the hi-hats. Both the hi-hats. That's everything back. Or you can mute whole banks at once. There's just the toms. Okay, I think quantize is the only something I haven't mentioned that might have made a difference already. But for the most part, that's like how you sort of like build a sequence. Which I think is like, if you're trying to sit down to get started, that's the sort of thing you'd want to do, right? I want to look around the samples. I want to find some ones I like. I want to get them playing. Right? You might also, early on, want to manipulate a sample. So here's a good one. All the sort of like parameters for how a sample is going to play, not all of them, but for the most part, that's this whole window here. Here is a sample. It's pretty long. Cool melodic thing. You can change the pitch. By default, it'll just play through when you press it. If I want it to release when I release my finger, put it on gate. If I want it to keep going, it'll start over when it hits the end, that's loop, and you can stop it again with loop. Right, so one shot, gated on and off, looping, and you can have gate and loop on at the same time. It'll hit the end and run back as long as you have it held down. So there's your sort of play modes for okay, so there's different play modes for samples. Most of my like comfortability in moving around this is from the 303, which I think is like immeasurably cool from a modern Roland product to feel like that OG stuff. I'll have more to say about that later. But this sample's so long, let's say I want to start it way, way later. I want to hear a different part of it. So this is where you begin playing back that piece of audio. Take the pitch way down. Let's drop it down an octave. Okay. Very different when you start near the middle or near the end of the sample than the beginning. Well, what if I just want it to be that very first hit? I can bring the endpoint way up. Even less. 10 maybe. Finicky on these trim pots. That's a price to pay. That's a price I'm willing to pay. Okay, there it is. Well, this is a better example for loop now. So I have gate and loop on, and I'll keep playing while I have it held. Just loop. Keeps playing until you turn it off. Now, there are other play modes. So shift and loop here, forward or reverse. Let's get our endpoint a little later. Playing that sample in reverse. There's also alternate. So let's get a shorter snippet here. forward, backward, forward, backward, forward. Super powerful. Like, they seem so fundamental, but that stuff matters a lot, a lot, a lot. Lo-fi here. Sort of plays it back at a lower sample. Really cool sample. Here is another sample. It's gated and looping and probably alternate. Yeah. One last option in here you can see we have poly. So if I hit shift and gate, change between monophonic and polyphonic. Then once we're in there, so I can hit it a bunch and they'll play over each other. Or I can hit keyboard. And play it polyphonically like a keyboard. So you can use this like a voice, like an instrument voice. So we've got our sort of synth voice here. What if I want to manipulate that with some more like synthesis type parameters? Well, sample edit here, shift and voice. I could click through here and figure these out. So this is like envelope, attack, decay, sustain, release. I just remember from looking at the manual that I've got attack, decay, sustain, release right here on these four. Okay, so I do all that, hit enter. Oops, hit the octave down. So I could build our envelope right here. Octave up and down, I keep hitting. Great. Oops, I hit pitch. I want it to be an octave down, I think. It's very easy to lose track of menus and shifting and holding for the most part. Cool. I can also do that for the filter. So here we have cutoff. We have type, low pass, and cutoff. So let's resonance, drive. Did I get out of filter there? I did. You get it. There's the filter controls. There's also a pitch envelope, and we have a mixer section for each. I have to constantly reference the manual here. Our level, auto panning, output bus selection, send to the delay or send to the reverb, which those are both way up. Send to the delay, send to the reverb, and you can hear it on this sample. That they're going to do both the delay and reverb, which you can edit here. Shift and this A sharp. So delay is synced. Delay time. I think it would be, yeah, delay time. And delay feedback. A lot of the sort of, second layer of menus. That's all. I probably won't do any more examples of that, okay? But pretty much every second layer menu is like completely unintelligible without the manual at hand. Which really isn't that bad if you're comfortable having the manual by your side, which especially like learning device, I don't think it is. Or when you get to a point where you know that there's something else you want to try, Control F and you'll find it. I probably won't give you any more examples of that, okay? But pretty much like every second layer menu is like, you kind of need the manual to know what it is you're reading. Oh, I left my reverb off. Delay, reverb. See, I can remember, I can find them. Oh, we hit octave down. Anyway, that was a serious tangent. But anything to manipulate a sample. Start in this corner, and then sample edit here. You have a lot of control, and I ended up going all the way into delay and reverb, but that is the gist of it, okay? Where was that? Yeah, that we were messing with before. I just think this is so pleasant. After you have a sample you like playing or looping, or maybe a pattern you've built up, you can run that with this effect section. You can only do one at a time. Filter's really obvious to hear. What did I... This will work well too. And I'd have to pull up the manual for a lot of these specific controls as well. But this is a filter. I know we're going to have cutoff, resonance. And this is drive. Pretty cool. Also, just like, there's a lot of steps here on the sweep of this pot, the sweep of this trim pot. Okay, they're punch-in effects. I should have said punch-in effects. DJ-style looper. You can play the whole loop in reverse. Or you can loop a short section of it. How long that section is defined on the first knob here. Say I have all these up into place before it's on. Tap the effect just to turn it on. Plenty of fun. This is something, again, that I remember being on the original 303. You have a dual pitch shifter, so the third controls mix. First and second pitch shift ranges. So let's mix about, how high does it go? Halfway, 50% there? Pretty cool. An extra delay. You can punch in. An extra delay. Scatter is a very Roland idea. Actually,
some effects have extra parameters accessed through Shift plus the control knobs. I didn't notice this until editing. It's on page 107 of the manual.
Show you that with something rhythmic here. You like snap it on with Control 3. That's really cool. Love that. I could do that forever. And the last one is a multi-effect. If you hold M effects, you can pick through a bunch of them. There's a vinyl compressor. There's cassette emulation. Filter, noise, compression, or cassette. Filter, noise, degradation, perhaps. Lo-fi. Just a reverb. Bigger one. Chorus, flanger, phaser. Panning tremolo. Bit crushing. And a master comp, which like really hits. You get the point. There's tons of stuff in the multi-effect. Okay, this is a sampler, and we haven't talked about sampling yet. That's on purpose. To me, and maybe you disagree, it makes more sense to know where things are stored, how to put them in a pattern, how to manipulate them. I want to know all that before I start putting my own sounds on something. Whether that's right or wrong, that's what we did. So, to sample in, no surprise, we're going to be coming to this big button. But we need a place to put it first, and remember, these 8 banks of 6 are the only places where you can have they're the only slots where we can save any samples, so I need to delete something. Here on D6, that's something I'm not going to use. So delete, hit it again. Okay, that's empty. Now we can replace it. So if I hit sampling, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to mute the mic you're hearing now. And now, you're just hearing the mic built into the P6. This is how I start my ASMR channel. If you hit delete, that'll turn the mic on and off. Lo-fi now sets your sampling rate. So we have 44.1, 22, 14, or like 11.025 or something. We'll leave it in full quality for now. Gate and loop don't do anything right now. And these knobs all do something. So are we sampling it in mono or stereo? Start is how long we're sampling. So free is just once we hit the button again. All of these are divisions of the master clock, so we can have the sample length be in time with whatever our pattern length is. That's very, very valuable. Don't forget about that. But it's free, 1/4, 1/4, 1/2, 3, 1 measure, 2 measures, and I think if I change, let's go all the way down to 11. Yeah, then I can record up to 11 measures. I don't know if that's the like per sample length limit or if there's like a global memory limit, but I can do up to 11 bars, which is, of course, more than enough. I'm going to leave it on free for now. And here is the trigger. So trigger off means as soon as I hit sampling, it'll just start going. Then sync means it starts when the sequencer starts, and all these deep decibel thresholds are to trigger it, are to trigger audio coming in or into the microphone. And this is gain for the mic. And you'll notice once I turn the mic back on, that's what our indication down on these pads, or that were the keys. That's going to be our level. I'm clipping. That's pretty good, inconsistent, but I'm going to get back to 44.1. Okay, I want it to be free. I'm just going to sample a snap, triggering off. So if we got 6 picked, hit sample, recording, done. Then it normalizes. That's its progress bar. Writing, then it's done. You can hear my voice there. Move startup. Cool, there we go. We got it. I can now do whatever I could with anything else. Run it through effects. Use it in my patterns, whatever. That, of course, is not the only source. So I'm going to delete 6, delete. Okay, that's empty again. You can record from an external source, which, oh boy, I got the perfect candidate right here. I can get the S1 in the mix in. Very, very cool. Okay, and if I want to record from the mix in, I'll probably just get the reverb and the delay off and do a single note. Just like that. So if I hit sampling, 6 is where we want to go again. I can see it's triggering on that input here. What about gain? Doesn't do anything because that's just for the mic. So I can turn it up here. That will be enough. And how about this time we use a threshold? Let's set our threshold to what would be the most sensitive? Minus 24? Yep. I'm just going to do a C, just one note like that. Pick our pad. So sample. Now we're in standby. It's waiting for a trigger. It's waiting for something past that threshold to record. And there it was. So done, normalize, write, and there we go. Now I've got that in the S1. Man, Hey, that was perfect zoom, by the way. And even just like 2 seconds using this keyboard and all the white keys being down here messed me up. Of course, not as much control as the S1 if it was coming out of whatever synthesizer I just sampled, but like, there's that sound through a nice delay and reverb. With more polyphony than the S1, really. And I could set it up to loop gated, but I think I probably need the sustain to be way up for that. Yep, so then get out of there. And I need it to go alternating. We're kind of clipping at that at the start of it when we loop, but you get the idea that you can make really long pads out of this. Or if I... Oops. Or if I get out of this, bring in the start and the end. You can find all sorts of... This is so short, it's almost acting like it's a single cycle waveform. Yeah, but that sort of zero crossing failure can be rhythmic. And it almost works like a polyphonic
LFO.
because they're all running at different rates when you pitch them up and down, because this doesn't time stretch at all. I think that could be interesting. Okay, I was on that one for a while. There is a third way to sample, so I've deleted that 6 again. Okay, I have that as our pattern already in here. So if I go into sample, pick 6, turn off the mic. Mono's fine for this. Let's not do free time. Let's do 2 bars. And we're going to trigger it with sync. So this will start when I hit play, and it will record for exactly 2 bars and then be done. So right there, it's finished. It's normalizing. It'll write it after that. This to me is like classic 303, sort of done up a little bit. Classic 303 being like resample what you've already got. There it is. Great. I can loop that and just let that go. And let's say I like that, or maybe you want to add a multi-effect. How about this compressor? Well, and I want to sample again. Let's delete 5, because I need a slot to put it in. Sample, put it in 5, 2 bars, sync. Okay, and I hit this. So that will have what I just played by hitting that one pad, and the multi-effect, the compressor, on all of it. And it'll be on 5 now. And I can, of course, do anything I can do to a normal sample to that. I can play it in reverse, I can alternate it. I can set it to just loop. Let's go back to forward. I can set it just to loop, whatever. I can do any of it. Something else I haven't shown you. Where would this be? I'm not gonna cut or look it up because I should remember where this is at. Probably in voice. I want to chop this up. There it is, chop. So that is shift voice, enter. I can decide how many chops I want. This is going to subdivide the full length of our sample by whatever it is we give it. If I do 8, that might be interesting. Now I hit exit. Now I hit exit. If I hit keyboard while you're on a sample that's chopped, instead of being that sample repitched, let's hit chopped up. So for something rhythmic like this, for something rhythmic like that, chopping it up like that can be a really cool way to sort of change up. So for something rhythmic like that, those chops, or I could sequence it in whatever order I want. So if I get out of keyboard, I need to go to a different pattern. So let's go to 2, 3. Let's go to 203. There's nothing there. Out of pattern. Since those chops were 8 chops and there were 2 bars, if I just on 5 go bum, 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 bum. Okay, it's just the same one over. Well, if you hold on that, move it up by 1. That is C sharp, that'll be D, that'll be D sharp. Or I can move it to one that's way later. There's just all sorts of fun ways. Yeah, when you have a sample that's like nicely locked in time, you can do tons of stuff. Or if I speed it up a little bit, I've sort of made this stumbling groove. Or if I slow it down, the opposite. Just a little bit overworks. Too fast and it kind of falls apart. That probably also felt like a lot. But I think that's also like huge. I think that's so cool. And it's like, as an addition to what I'm familiar with on the 303, resampling, maybe adding effects, performing new elements over that, that's like a lot of power to sort of play with that. And I guess like right now, so if I am on 2.2, which is the original one, I can sequence a change to 2.3. So if I click on that, it'll go to the end of the bar. And back and forth. There you go. I think you have an idea for how cool the combo of a sampling length that's tied to the length of the sequencer that starts in time with the sequencer, and then being able to subdivide that with chop, however you want. That to me is like hilariously powerful for something that is like a sleeker, modern SP-303. That's like crazy powerful. Back again, just a simple sound. And I'm sure you can tell what I'm about to do. You can control this, of course, with a keyboard. Which is great. It actually responds to different MIDI channels to do different things. So by default, this is 15. It'll go to whatever pad you have active. And it is velocity sensitive here. But if I shift 11, changes to MIDI channel 11, this will just go up sort of one by one. All the samples that are in here, which is great. I like that flexibility in addressing it. It is kind of confusing when you plug in a MIDI controller without knowing that. But I feel like anybody using this deep has to read the manual anyway, so no big deal. Back to where we were. And just like a small note, if you hold pattern and pick a pad, it won't sort of announce itself as being selected. I think that kind of alone opens up a whole nother use case. If you can run external MIDI in this and just have small battery-powered sample player, what a powerful live tool. Thanks to MIDI, that can be for melodic stuff as well. And I think that rules, but there is another MIDI channel. It goes to the Granular sampler, which we need a sample in there to start with, so I'm just going to show you that whole process. I am going to delete that, sadly. And I'm just going to record a long sequence here. I'm going to lock them in tempo. I don't know. There's that. To pick that, hold pattern, press granular, press that pad. So now, when I hit granular, which is kind of like a 7th pad, see, those are all still normal. Granular is kind of like a 7th pad. But as I hold notes, there's some craziness there. So here we are. It was kind of busy already, but this Granular is making it busier. Let me turn that down. I won't get too into what Granular is and how it works right now, but you're sort of randomly picking pieces of a sample to play. That's why I got something long and complicated. So you can sort of hear it. But head position and grain size and coarse tuning are what I'm changing right now. Bigger grains. So bigger window. Every time it picks a piece of a sample, we'll hear more of it. I quite like. Sounds pretty interesting, but there's more. So if I go into voice settings now, see it says SMPL. So you can choose the sample. There's coarse tuning, fine tuning, detuning, head position, which we changed already, head speed. We've got all sorts of extra granular parameters. Spread, I think, is very important. Grain size, we've already manipulated. Grain shape. There's tons and tons of granular specific parameters. And it's cool, and I think I don't need to show you much more, because if you want to play with it, you'll get in there and do it. Especially without making this video 3 times as long and explaining granular. But I think this is like kind of indicative of what I want to say about the whole thing. Here we have a granular sound I'm pretty happy with. Took a lot of getting. But it's here and it sounds really, really good. And I'm ending on this for a bunch of reasons, but one, it's hard not to bring up the Volcas, because there's just too many comparisons to draw. But this feels like an almost identical sort of a lane, at face value especially, to the Volca sample. It's small, it's affordable, it's portable, and it's a sampler. A sampler can do so much, can be so much. But this doesn't have nearly as many limitations, nearly as many quirks, and the sort of ceiling for what you can control and configure and tweak is so much higher. That's good, because you can learn and grow and figure out new things to try, new things to do, new ways to use this piece of gear. But I can understand it being intimidating. This granular stuff, if you don't read the manual, you would never ever figure it out. You would never know what that parameter means. This is grain size key follow. You wouldn't know that without looking at the manual. You just wouldn't. And I can't think of anything on the Volca sample you could. And I don't mean to pick on it. I think Volca sample is special. But it didn't have a built-in microphone like this. The MIDI and sync options weren't as flexible. You understand what I'm trying to say. This is a more up-to-date, more refined version of that same idea. And I think all the same people who would have bought the Volca sample, had it, been new and exciting when they were getting into this stuff, should and will get this instead. I think we're seeing the next couple bits of ubiquitous hardware, and I think that's really, really exciting. So that's it. Yeah, one last time to summarize. If you're okay with a little bit of menu diving, if you're okay with reading the manual a little bit, then this is amazing. I have no reason not to recommend this. If you're okay with a lot of menu diving, if you're okay with a lot of reading the manual, then the sort of limits to this are like almost shocking. Like, you can do so much considering the size, considering the form factor, considering the price point. Roland, good on you. This is exactly the sort of thing I want to see from a big company. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, thanks for watching. My name's Jorb. I love gear. See you in the next one. Cheers and so long.